it is MLB batting practice time. So getting your favorite DFS and Sportsbook plays for tonight. Let's start, Garion, with your favorite pitcher to play in DFS. Who's it going to be?
Yeah, I think you can't really go wrong using either of the starters in this San Francisco-New York game. I'm going to lean Chris Bassett just because I think, first and foremost, he's got the better matchup. And I also think that Rodon, just with how dominant he's been through his first two starts, racking up those strikeouts, he's probably going to be the most popular pitcher on this slate. So I do like getting a little bit of that variance, even though I do think Bassett's going to be, relatively popular as well. He's pitched 12 innings so far this season, has 14 strikeouts, just one earned run allowed. But I think the thing that I really like about this matchup is the Giants have been pretty strikeout prone so far in 2022. They have the seventh highest team strikeout rate in baseball at 25.5%. They have the highest called strike plus swinging strike rate in baseball at 31.1%. So I think Bassett can really rack up the strikeouts, and I think he's just a pretty good pitcher in general. So I'll take him on this side of a pretty good matchup.
All right, Nick, who are you taking?
I think Bassett's a good call. I do like Rodon a little bit more in that one, but yeah, he is the highest price guy in this slate tonight. To me, I wanted to go a little bit lower. This is kind of a weird slate in terms of pricing because I see Merrill Kelly at 8K, and this is a guy who I normally like to target. Got to admit, he has done well this season, but I'm going to go a little bit higher than him at 8.3K on the other side of that matchup with Eric Fetty. Not a guy I normally want to roll with, but he has done well to start the season going up against the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks not good against right-handed pitching. They're bottom 6 in OPS and WOBA against righties, and they have a 135 ISO, which isn't the worst in the league, but it's a really bad number. And they also have the highest K rate against right-handed pitching in all of baseball at 29%. Fetty's got 5 and 6 Ks, 5 innings, both of his first two starts of the season. So I think there's a chance for him to kind of go a little bit higher than that in this one.
All right, Nick, who's a hitter that you feel like you need in your lineup? If you move down a little bit, you could get Vladdy Jr. for 5,800.
Yeah, and there were some guys at shortstop that I was looking at tonight because you guys know I like to go with the matchups and look at that history. Bo Bichette has done really well against Nick Pivetta. Francisco Lindor has actually done really well against Carlos Rodon. But the guy I actually want to go with has nothing to do with his matchup really in terms of history. Carlos Correa, 4.9K going up against the Royals. He's gained a little bit of momentum recently, and of course he's a much cheaper option than Lindor was at 5.9, and I believe Bichette's at 5.5. But three for his last 7. And then Correa, he hasn't seen a whole lot of left-handed pitching this season, but he's done well in those opportunities. He's got a couple doubles. He's going up against Daniel Lynch tonight. Now, he has seen him before. He is 2 for 6 against him. Not going to read too much into that, especially when neither of those hits are for extra bases. But Daniel Lynch is the lowest price guy on this slate, and he struggled mightily in his first start of the season. I think the Twins are a team that you're going to want to stack tonight. And so this is the right mix for a big night for Correa.
All right, Gary, and which hitter do you need in your lineup?
Yeah, I think Correa actually probably dollar for dollar is my favorite play on this slate. But I think we'll get back to how you can attack the Twins in some much cheaper ways tonight. And because of that, I feel okay just saying you can get Vladimir Guerrero Jr. into a lineup tonight. He's $5,800 as you talked about, but he's really picked up right where he left off last season. He's got a 390 isolated power, a 206 WRC plus. And I think the big thing with the matchup tonight is Nick Pivetta, while he has been all right since becoming a Red Sox, he has particularly struggled at Fenway Park. If you go back to the start of last season, he's got a 5.73 ERA when he starts in Boston, and that includes giving up 2.2 home runs per 9. Those are not the kind of numbers you want to have going up against Vladimir Guerrero Jr., someone who hit 5 home runs at Fenway in his 10 games last season. So I'll just say the easy answer and take Vladdy.
All right, let's talk value play. Gary, you kind of hinted at this. Are you going to stack the Twins here?
Yeah, and the pricing for the Twins is absolutely insane. I get that some of these guys aren't like household names, although a couple of them used to be Yankees. Like I think Gary Sanchez at 2,800 is really enticing. And the other guy in that trade, Gio Urshela, is $2,200. That doesn't make any sense. First and foremost, Urshela has always hit left-handed pitching well for his career, and Daniel Lynch is a bad left-handed pitcher. He's faced 300 right-handed batters for his career, and he's allowed those 300 to hit 318 with a 392 WOBA. Urshela has hit third in the Twins lineup the last 2 times they faced a lefty. Like, I've never seen someone who's definitely going to hit in the top third of someone's order, has been hitting well so far this season, be priced this low. I mean, it's basically the minimum. So I think Urshela is like a free space tonight.
All right, Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, Gio Urshela was my guy too at 2.2K. Daniel Lynch, you got to pick on him tonight. I do think, just to add to another guy, Garion talked about Gary Sanchez a little bit in that 2.8K. He had a couple doubles in his last game, and it's been a little while since he hit a home run. And this is a guy, whenever I'm going up against left-handed pitching, that I think you got to consider, especially at this price point. But yeah, Gio Urshela is the number one guy when we're talking about value plays tonight. Got a little momentum, 6 for his last 13 over the last 3 games. And he hasn't seen much in terms of left-handed pitching to start the year, but his lone extra base hit has come against the lefty this season.
All right, Nick, let's move on over to the DK Sportsbook. What is your favorite player prop on the board?
Yeah, so I'm going to go a little bit off the main slate here. We're still, in the later games of the 6 o'clock hour, but DJ LeMahieu over 1.5 total bases going up against the Tigers. He's 9 for his last 22. He has a lot of momentum going, actually, more so than some of the other guys we've talked about. And he's done well against Erod throughout the course of his career, 8 for 23. He's another guy too, hasn't had much in the way of opportunities against left-hand pitching to start the season, but in those few opportunities that he's had them, he has done well. So I have no problem backing him going up against the Tigers, even if he doesn't get to see too much of Erod either.
All right, Garion, where are you going for your favorite player prop?
So I'll just go back to a game we've really been talking a lot about and a player we've talked already about. I like Carlos Correa over 1.5 total bases plus 115. I thought about going with Gio Urshela, but this kind of shows you just how odd the pricing is on DraftKings versus the DraftKings Sportsbook. Urshela over 1.5 total bases is actually a lower number. It's only plus 110, where Correa's is plus 115. So despite the fact that Correa is twice as expensive on the main slate tonight, the sportsbook looks at these two guys very similarly. So I think that says a lot. But Correa is someone who has struggled so far as a member of the Minnesota Twins, but he's got a 136 career WRC plus against left-handed pitching. This is a really good matchup for him, and I think this is going to be like his breakout game with Minnesota.
All right, Garion, favorite run line or money line?
Yeah, I would cheat and probably take the first 5 in this game. And this line is moving, but I do like the Jays minus 130. I just don't think Nick Pivetta matches up well with this lineup. As I said, he struggles immensely at Fenway Park. And I think Jose Barrios, terrible first outing of the season, but really someone who's been the picture of consistency the last 4 seasons. He's thrown the 4th most innings in baseball in that span of time. He's got like a mid-3s ERA, a mid-3s FIP. You kind of just know what you're getting from him, where Pivetta is a little bit more of a wild card. So I'll lean with the Jays money line, but like I said, I probably prefer the first 5 where you're really just focusing on the starters and less of the bullpens.
All right, Nick, favorite run line or money line bet?
Yeah, I'm going to go to that late game tonight for this one with Mariners run line going up against the Rangers. I just look at this matchup, and it's Logan Gilbert, who has shoved in his first 2 starts, going up against Dane Dunning, who's a guy you always want to pick on in DFS and on the Sportsbook as well. But also when we look at the Rangers lineup too against right-handed pitching, 569 OPS, 264 team WOBA against right-handed pitching, and then they have the MLB worst .069 ISO against right-handed pitching. We just saw Seattle too when we talk about their hitters smoke John Gray last night. I know it ended up with 6 runs. At 6 runs, I'll take that any night. I think that's going to work plenty well to cover in this one. And when you look at the bullpens too, they couldn't be on further ends of the spectrum to start the season. Seattle's bullpen ERA 2.27, their FIP 2.94. So there's a little bit of regression, but they're still going to be lights out. You look at Texas ERA 5.68, their bullpen FIP 5.79. So MLB worst in both of those categories, and it's just going to continue to be bad for them. So I have no problem backing the Mariners to cover here at minus 1.5.